My brother used my credit card without asking and then claimed, "You never said I couldn't use it." I showed the security footage of him sneaking into my room. His bank reversed every charge, and I took him to small claims court and won. I, 32, a software engineer, have to get this off my chest. My younger brother, 28, has been the financial nightmare of our family for years. All charm and zero responsibility. He burns through cash like it's oxygen and views money, especially mine, as a perpetually replenishing resource he's entitled to. He's never managed to hold down a job longer than 6 months, always claiming it's beneath him or the bosses are unfair, and every conversation with him is just a winding road back to why he needs something and why I should provide it. Our relationship was already hanging by a thread, constantly strained by his mooching and dramatic self-sabotage, and then he went nuclear. The whole thing kicked off when I was out of town for a week on a major work project. I was staying in a hotel, using a corporate card for expenses, so my personal credit card, a high-limit travel one I keep for specific, large purchases and emergencies, was locked away in my fireproof safe in my bedroom closet. I always figured the dual security of the locked room and the coded safe was more than enough. I was wrong. Then the text started popping up, a rapid-fire series of bizarre, unauthorized charges. $87 at a high-end boutique downtown. $152 for some ridiculous gaming gear he absolutely doesn't need. A whopping $412 at an upscale liquor store near the waterfront. I initially thought it was a sophisticated fraud ring because there's simply no way my card should have been used. But then I saw the locations, all local to the neighborhood where my brother hangs out with his deadbeat friends. It started clicking into place, a cold, sick feeling rising in my stomach. I called the bank immediately, reported the fraud, and they put an immediate hold on the card. The total damage over 3 days of my absence? Just over $4,800. My blood pressure spiked. I didn't hesitate. I cut my trip short, citing an urgent family emergency, flew home early, and didn't tell a soul, especially not my brother or our mother, that I was coming back. I wanted to catch him completely off guard. I walked into my house, the one I pay the mortgage on, the one he currently occupies rent-free while he searches for the perfect career opportunity, and the silence was unsettling. He wasn't immediately visible, but I heard the sound of a video game coming from the living room. I went straight to my room. The door was locked, but the moment I opened it, I felt that something was wrong. The fireproof safe was shut, but when I typed in the code and opened the heavy door, the card was sitting right on top of my passport, clearly visible, not tucked away in its magnetic sleeve where I always put it. Someone had definitely been digging around in my private space. I walked out to the living room, the credit card gripped tightly in my hand, the metal digging into my palm. He was there, sprawled on the sofa, engrossed in his game. "Oh, hey, what are you doing back?" "I thought you were gone until Friday," he said, not even pausing his game. That lazy nonchalance just fueled the fire inside me. "Cut the pathetic act," I said, my voice dangerously low. I tossed the credit card onto the coffee table right in front of him, and it landed with a sharp clatter. "Explain the $4,800. He finally looked up, and his face didn't betray any guilt or surprise. It just settled into that familiar mask of self-pitying annoyance, like I was the one inconveniencing him. "Oh, that," he scoffed, picking up the card like it was a piece of trash. "I needed some things for the apartment. You know, groceries, a few things to wear. And your car battery died while you were gone. I had to replace it." A ridiculous, blatant lie. I have a smart charger on a trickle charge for my car when I'm away, and the battery was perfectly fine. He was just reaching for any excuse. "You broke into my locked room, disabled the latch on my door, cracked the combination on my safe, and stole my credit card," I stated, not asking. I wanted him to hear the facts, the criminal truth of his actions. And here came the line that irrevocably shattered everything. The moment his entitlement became a weapon. He leaned back against the sofa cushions, crossing his arms over his chest, his eyes narrowing. "Dude, just relax. It's not stealing. We're family. I was going to tell you eventually. Look, you have money, right? You never even checked that card. You never explicitly said I couldn't use it. Asterisk, asterisk. The sheer, monumental, brain-numbing entitlement of that statement, that I was somehow responsible for his lack of morals because I hadn't issued a specific, preemptive prohibition against him breaking and entering, sucked all the air out of the room. It was the ultimate narcissistic move, the total rejection of personal accountability, and the moment I realized I couldn't share oxygen with him anymore. I walked away from the argument without another word. I didn't trust myself not to do something drastic if I stayed. I went straight to my home office and pulled up the security footage. I have a state-of-the-art security system installed after a previous, smaller misunderstanding where he borrowed some of my electronics to pawn for gas money. I focused on the camera pointing at the hallway and the door to my bedroom. The timeline was damning and confirmed my suspicion that this was premeditated. Tuesday, 1:17 a.m. My brother, wearing socks to muffle his footsteps, crept down the hall. He hesitated at my door, jiggled the handle, then produced a small, flexible piece of plastic, like an old key card or perhaps a gift card, and spent 2 agonizing minutes trying to slip the lock. The quiet click of the latch being forced was audible on the high-quality audio track. Once the door was open, he slipped inside. The internal camera, which I had deliberately angled toward the safe, caught the quick flash of him opening it and removing the card. This wasn't a desperate grab. It was a covert, calculated operation. I saved the footage, backed it up to multiple cloud services, and knew I had the smoking gun. This was no longer just a family argument. It was criminal fraud backed by irrefutable video evidence. I called the bank back immediately. I skipped the basic fraud line and insisted on speaking directly to the senior fraud investigator assigned to my claim. I told them I had clear, time-stamped video proof of unauthorized entry and possession. That changed the tone instantly. I sent them the clips along with the list of fraudulent transactions. The bank moved at a shocking speed. Within 48 hours, they ruled in my favor. They didn't just reverse the charges. They issued a formal letter to me, stating that based on the uncontested visual evidence of B and AMP, E and unauthorized access, they classified the transactions as criminal fraud, fully crediting my account and permanently closing the card. Crucially, they stated they were legally obligated to file an incident report with local law enforcement, which they did. When my brother realized the card was dead, he was still checking the bank app, hoping I'd just forgotten about it. He spiraled. He tried to buy things with it again, only to be rejected repeatedly. This is when the family drama escalated. Our mother, his lifelong enabler, called me, her voice trembling with manufactured hysteria. "You went to the bank? Are you crazy? You're going to ruin his future over a few shirts and games," she screamed, the martyrdom in her tone nearly deafening. "It's $4,800, Mother." I corrected her, my voice steel and completely devoid of emotion. And the bank filed a police report based on the video of him breaking into my private, locked space to steal. I didn't ruin his life. His choice to steal and break in did. Those are his consequences. This was the cue for his Dirty Tricks campaign to go full throttle. Realizing he couldn't win the legal battle, he tried to win the moral one, by destroying my reputation and property. He tried to claim the police, who did briefly call me to verify the bank's incident report, that I was abusing prescription medication and was mentally unstable, which is why I gave him the card. I immediately emailed the officer my clean medical records and the time-stamped, irrefutable security footage. The officer, clearly dealing with a desperate manipulator, simply responded, "We have the video, sir. The evidence is conclusive." He escalated his entitlement at home. He knew my dog, a 10-year-old rescue, needs constant care. One night, he deliberately left my dog locked outside in the yard during a sudden rainstorm, knowing full well I was out getting groceries. I came home to find my beloved dog shivering and distressed. The next day, he accidentally microwaved a fork in my microwave, completely destroying the appliance with sparks and smoke. He started broadcasting loudly to our extended family that I was greedy and heartless, and was trying to have him arrested over an honest mistake because I was jealous of his free spirit. I didn't budge. I realized my moral dilemma wasn't whether to forgive him, but whether to allow his destructive, toxic behavior to continue to poison my life and space. The answer was definitive and cold no. The bank had covered the financial loss, but I hadn't received compensation for the hours of stress, the destroyed microwave, the cost of replacing the lock he had compromised, or the sheer gall of his manipulative lies. I needed a legal, binding document that would prevent this from ever happening again and provide the ultimate consequence. I decided to take him to small claims court. The first step was serving him. I had a professional process server deliver the summons, a move that completely shocked him, as he truly believed I would fold when faced with formal legal action. He called me, screaming about how I was betraying the family and how I was dead to him. I just hung up. I was done with the drama. I meticulously filed a claim for $1/$4 $800 in punitive damages, since the actual fraud loss was covered by the bank. This was for emotional distress, the time spent, and his campaign of harassment. $2/$350 for the destroyed microwave, and $3/$150 for the cost of the process server and court filing fees. Total $5/$300. This wasn't about the money. It was about the legal record and the consequence. Small claims court in the U.S. is designed to be streamlined, but I consulted with a lawyer friend for an hour to ensure my evidence packet was impeccable. He confirmed that my proof, the bank's criminal fraud determination letter, the security footage, and the itemized list of damages, was overwhelming. You're not suing for the theft itself. You're suing for damages resulting from his established fraud and negligence. It's a slam dunk, he assured me. My brother's strategy in court, which he handled pro se, representing himself, was a masterclass in entitlement. He showed up in an overly expensive, ill-fitting suit, likely bought with the stolen money, and tried to present the narrative of the poor, struggling, misunderstood younger brother being unjustly persecuted by his rich, callous older brother. He even tried to use our mother as a distraction, having her sit in the front row and glare at me. When she tried to approach the bench and speak on his behalf, the judge immediately shut her down and warned her against interfering with the court's process. The climax arrived when I presented the evidence. I laid out the bank's letter, submitted the itemized receipts for the microwave and court fees, and then played the security footage. The judge, a quiet but stern woman, watched the entire clip of him picking my lock. The silence in the courtroom was absolute. My brother's face was a mixture of panic and wounded pride. His final argument, delivered with a desperate shake in his voice, was the same old, entitled lie. Your Honor, he never told me I couldn't use it. We share everything. He never told me. The judge leaned forward on the bench, her gaze dissecting him. Mr. Brother's last name. The video evidence clearly shows you defeating a locked door, which is the definition of unauthorized access and trespass. You are a 28-year-old man. You do not need to be explicitly told that entering a private, locked space and taking a credit card is theft. That's called being a functioning, law-abiding adult. The bank determined this was fraud, and this court agrees that the resulting damages are your responsibility. The judgment *, the judge ruled in my favor for the full $5/$300. I felt a wave of cold, hard vindication wash over me. But then came the completely unexpected and deeply satisfying twist. She wasn't finished. Furthermore, she stated, her voice sharp, looking directly at my brother. Due to the nature of this deliberate deceit, the security breach of the property, and the established pattern of financially manipulative behavior presented in the evidence, I am also issuing a restraining order prohibiting you from entering the plaintiff's primary residence, his place of employment, or contacting him directly for a period of 1 year, except through certified mail for matters concerning this. Judgment. This is not just about the money. It is about providing the plaintiff with security and peace of mind from your repeated, predatory conduct. I was absolutely floored. I hadn't even requested a restraining order. The judge, recognizing the toxic, abusive dynamic and his entitlement, essentially granted me an immediate, court-enforced separation and the right to peace. The look on my brother's face was not one of sadness or remorse, but of pure, humiliated, white-hot, wounded entitlement. He finally realized his charm, his entitlement, and his gaslighting weren't going to work anymore. The consequences were real, and they were legally binding. Within 48 hours of the judgment, I had the sheriff serve him the final eviction notice along with the restraining order. He had to pack his bags and move in with our mother, who, I heard, was not thrilled about having her self-pitying vortex of debt living under her roof. The resolution? Bittersweet, yes, because it cost me a relationship, but overwhelmingly liberating. The toxic tie to my brother is completely severed, cut by his own hands and sealed by a judge's gavel. I have my money back, my peace is restored, and he has a legally binding debt and a major consequence on his record. Justice was served perfectly, full damages, plus the ultimate gift of court-ordered silence. If you hate entitled family members as much as I do and appreciate when manipulators face real consequences, hit that upvote button. And maybe subscribe, because my next story about my ridiculously entitled HOA is just as petty.